So we can call this meeting to order, and I always forget how this protocol goes, so help me along.
Well, one thing we don't do often is we usually do a motion to allow members to participate remotely.
Oh, really? Oh.
We do that in the village now just to. make sure.
Really, only the council does it, but the other boards typically don't. Do they need to?
They don't have to, but it can't hurt.
Okay.
All right, so, I suppose I can make a motion that, we can have, Board of Adjustment members attend this meeting remotely. Can I get someone to second that motion?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye from here?
All three of them right there.
Take that passed unanimous. And, I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as it stands. Can I get someone to second that motion?
I'll second
Yeah,
that.
Roger will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
I'll give that one to Roger.
Adopt the agenda as it stands. Did anyone have any comments or question about the minutes from the last meeting? Then I'll make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from the meeting of, I don't think I have that date in front of me,
122.
1/22,
I'm sorry, 1/4/22. 1/4/22.
January 4th, 2022, as they stand. Would someone second the motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So the minutes from that meeting of 1/4/22 are adopted as they stand.
I need to make sure you sign those before you leave. I'm
All right.
that. So you're good to move on to the case.
And so we can go ahead and open this, let's see which one this is. This variance application request, 2022-1. And the date today is February 21st, 2022. And I don't know what time it is.
You're good.
All right.
You'll need a motion to open the public
Motion,
hearing.
Open the public hearing.
Yes, and I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I get someone to second that motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Second it.
Aye.
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 So we will open the hearing, and I guess we need to,
Mr. Chair, if I could do a brief explanation, because
all right?
this board really doesn't have too many of these. We had one recently, but we've got some people that may not have been here. And it's called quasi-judicial, and that just means you're supposed to take in evidence, kind of like the court of law. It seems formal, but we're going to make it less formal. But with that, the reason they have that procedure is to make sure, one, each of the members here in this case can be fair and impartial. That means you can come in without already having your decision made, that you can base your decision made upon what is presented before you, and that you don't have a conflict of interest, a financial stake of some sort, or you're not a neighbor. You aren't impacted differently than everybody else. And if anybody believes they may have a reason they can't be fair and impartial, if you'll let us know, then we can discuss that and or move to recuse you. Can everybody be fair and impartial?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And remember, this is a variance, so we're used to most motions being a majority vote, but with a variance, it's a super majority. It's a 4/5 vote, and you can also place any conditions. And generally, the way we do this, and we figured out it's a lot smoother, is we will have witnesses sworn in, and we generally have the planner present, because they can do it a lot more efficiently. And if if there are questions for the applicant, or the applicant wants to state more, we do so that at that time. But the planner knows how to get everything in and do it more efficiently. So I think we'll start off with swearing in and presenting the case. And you should be sworn in as well, just because somebody will ask you something probably. Inevitably.
Our hand.
Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give during this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right.
Okay. Ready to proceed then? All right. We have a variance application request submitted by Mr. Matt Copley for a variance to the of section 151.054 of our the Marvin Code of Ordinances. That section specifically is in reference to detached accessory structures. And this variance is in specific to asking for a new rear and side setback for a detached accessory structure. Let's see. Mr. Copley filed the application on January 18th and got me all requirements. The letters were sent out. Where's the application? These dates, for record. The sign was posted on the property on February 10th, as well as the letter to all adjoining property owners were sent on February 9th. I have not to date received any phone calls, emails, anything from any adjoining property owners, and just thought I would mention that as well. So getting into the property location, it's 1621 Waxhaw Marvin Road. A little unique, little shape here. It's a little south of the Winmore subdivision right down here, I guess north of the PDS. Let's keep going. This is just the existing residential structure that's there currently. So the request is for a new rear setback to be 5 feet and a side setback to be 10 feet for a detached accessory structure. Currently, our ordinance reads for that section is that the side setback is the same as the principal, which in this case, based off the plat, is 15 feet, and the rear setback is 10 feet. So once again, he's asking for a request of 5 feet on the rear setback, a variance of 5 feet on the rear and side setbacks for his new setbacks to be 5 on the back and 10 on the side for this detached accessory structure.
I think you have it reversed in the memo.
Do I?
New minimum side back is 10, minimum rear is 5.
No, that's right.
That's right, okay.
I might have just said it wrong there, but I think it was right on the computer.
Yeah, you're good.
So the surrounding zoning and land uses is that the subject property is, the primary use is residential. It is zoned R Marvin residential. To the north is the Winmore subdivision, which is also zoned R Marvin residential. To the south and to the east of the property is PDS, which is all part of Union County and zone Union County R40. And then to the west is more, it's getting kind of the Winmore properties, as well as across the street is Broadmoor, considering that the property does go all the way to Waxhaw Marvin Road. So these are just some existing photos of the proposed area. Currently there is an accessory structure that is there. The proposal is for basically a detached garage. The applicant is looking at a 20 by 22 at the current moment, and that's what's being proposed. Just some more existing photos. This is looking towards Winmore. So actually this area where the trees are at, that is part of, can you clarify, those trees right here, is that your property line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. To the right of that is the property line.
Okay. And so everything left of those trees are technically what is the Winmore subdivision, and more specifically their 25-foot tree preservation strip that was a requirement when that development was approved. So the house was built in 1988. The original tract was much larger. The current tract is 1.2 acres. The parent tract was roughly 1.9 acres. It was subdivided in 2013 prior to Mr. Copley purchasing it. The actual what would be the more adequate rear yard space was subdivided and sold for the Winmore development. Mr. Copley has owned the property since 2015. He also was issued a proper zoning permit and constructed a pool kind of in the back right rear yard, which that's where a lot of this kind of arose, is that the back property line was a little off based off the plats, and And so that's where that had to be specifically placed there, as well as when the property was subdivided. The septic system and drainage lines used to be in the rear yard, but then were moved to the front yard of the property. And if there's anything I miss at any point, just jump in.
Got it.
So just some, applicable codes. Here is one, the building, the definition of a building, accessory building. Just simple lot lines. Like I said, these are all kind of applicable definitions based from our code of ordinances. And then kind of here specifically is this is 151.054, which gets into the accessory uses and structures. And in bold is where it says detached accessory structures, uses and structures shall comply, shall comply with the following. And here are those requirements, as I kind of stated earlier, that the minimum side setback is 15 feet and the rear is 10. And all detached structures shall be located behind the established building line of the principal structure, so they're just behind the house. With the property being zoned R Marvin residential, there's a sentence in our ordinance that states all single-family dwellings on a lot that comply with the basically that were either under the Union County R40 or previously just that plat. That lot was created before, I think it's July 1st, 2007. Then I applied the applicable setbacks that's on the plat. So our normal R Marvin residential, the side setbacks are 20. But the plat that was recorded with the property has the side setbacks of 15. So I just want to kind of clarify there. And so once again, so the side setback based off of a detached accessory structure would be 15 feet per our ordinance, not 20.
So it goes to the new setback.
No. Our Marvin residential general standards, the side setbacks are 20 feet.
Right.
If the plat was recorded and states something differently, for example, any type of annexed properties from Union County and so on, then I apply the setbacks based off the plat, especially if the structure and stuff was built prior to July 1st, 2007. Just so you know, it's basically where it didn't create any non-conformities.
Yep.
And that's expressly in your UDO that says that. So the village every now and then does have unique lots.
Yeah.
And it's to allow that modification with unique lots.
Hey, Hunter,
Yes.
you said the septic was moved.
Yes, sir.
When was that done?
2014,
2014.
about a month before we moved in the house. I can explain why it was moved if that helps.
Would you say 2014?
Yeah,
Yes,
prior. I'm gonna kind of get into that in some of the PowerPoint, but if you want to go ahead and explain why it was moved.
Yeah, sure. So when we moved in the house, the gentleman we bought the house from, we had talked to him about the septic in the backyard. The house was originally a 6-bedroom house, believe it or not. And there was 4 septic lines going to the right in the backyard, and there was 2 that were going to the left. And all 6 of them, or at least I think 4 out of 6 of them, were actually going across my property line, the new plotted property line. So he had already had Winmore, the gentleman who we bought the house from owned Winmore as well. Blue Hill Real Estate was the company who owned it all. And what they realized is that if, in order for them to mitigate that, they'd have to rewrite all of Winmore. They'd have to refix everything. So he decided to pay to have our septic put in the front yard instead, with the leach field up front, with the repair and everything up front, because we had the space, obviously, from what you can see on the map. So that was the reason why they had eliminated the septic in the back and put it in the front.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I think in your packets I included some of those original plats. I do have in this PowerPoint, when we get to kind of this approval criteria, I can we'll go back to that. I can show where the original lot line was for the property and how it basically, when it was subdivided, it created this bare minimum of a rear setback of the current property.
And it was subdivided after you purchased the property?
Before.
Or right before?
It was, yeah, they had redone the house, and obviously we had bought it, but it was already, Winmore wasn't built out yet.
Yeah.
The old structures that were in the field were still there, but they had it all done already for Winmore, so we knew what was coming.
Just trying to make sure before we get into applicable that there's no other generic background information that I want to make sure I stated. Okay.
Maybe just one question while you have that plot map up.
Uh-huh.
There's talk later about this 25-foot tree line.
Uh-huh.
Is that owned by the applicant or owned by the individual property owners in Winmore, or is that common to Winmore? What is that 25-foot?
So when the Winmore, our subdivision ordinance, specifically the one that, for the Winmore development, requires a 25-foot exterior tree preservation strip along any type of adjoining properties. So when the Winmore development, when they came and did their proposal, they had, by our ordinance requirements, that developer had to preserve a 25-foot strip for tree preservation. So it is currently owned, or it's on Winmore's property, and it's owned and maintained, or will be owned and maintained by the HOA once it's established. That development's still closing out. Some of that will be actually kind of, I'll get into it with a little bit of the background here.
Okay.
And why I've got it here, this is the original plat of the property. So this was the original property line for Mr. Coakley's house. You can see it did have, at one time, a large rear yard that, once again, all this would be adequate to meet our ordinance and so on. When the property,
When was that recorded?
this plat was recorded in 2013.
Well, the original.
The original 1979.
Okay, so yeah, that's definitely way before 2007.
And since it's a recombinant, it's exempt, and once again, the setbacks for that track is what, it's still part of that. So getting into approval criteria for you guys to make your guys' decision here tonight, is that one,
Yeah, hey, it's Tom. So do we have a picture of the proposed new structure?
the new structure is, it's going to be, there's no, you don't have a rendering. He's been working with a friend contractor of his, but once again, if the variance isn't granted, he's not going to waste kind of that money. So part of that, is depending on what your guys' decision outcome of tonight is. But it is being proposed that it's going to be the same look and characteristic of the house.
Same siding.
And a rendering's not a requirement
Correct.
of our ordinances.
So it would be kind of
Hey, Hunter,
yeah.
what is the structure he's trying to build? What is it for?
It's a 20 by 22 detached garage.
And where is it located on that property? I might have missed it.
Right, it's being proposed right here.
Where the shed is today.
Yeah. Right there.
Oh, where it replaces the shed?
Yes.
Correct.
If you go back to that picture, it'll help him kind of
Yep.
get a feel for it.
Yeah, so this is the end of the driveway. There's the pool, and then to the right is the garage. I don't have a pit, but so the proposed structure that Mr. Coakley's wanted to build, it would go right in this area to kind of be at the extension at the end of his driveway.
Taking any
So
trees
will
out?
that be
Go ahead, Tom.
is that like a straight in
Yes.
garage? I think I see houses behind it. So is it straight in?
Yes.
Correct.
That's Winmore behind, Tom. What you see.
Yeah, okay.
And behind it, those trees, that's part of that 25-foot buffer?
Yeah, so there's holly bushes, or right behind it, the shrubbery.
Yeah, that's the property line back.
Yeah, so the shrubbery right behind the current accessory structure is the property line. The trees behind there is, yes, that is part of Winmore and part of that 25-foot tree preservation strip. And so
what's the footage of this structure we're looking at? How far back is that? Like 10 feet?
that current structure is right, meets those minimum standards,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's sitting right in.
Yeah, it's sitting right pretty much on those setback lines. Or like what are
So
minimum
it
setback
would be-
lines?
Yeah, it would be an additional 10 feet then, right?
Yeah, to the, like, if you're looking at that, Tom, it, like, the way we're doing it, pretty much where it sits, it'd be to the right of that building would go out. Does that make sense? So if you were to like
Okay.
double the
Okay.
shed footprint to the right, that's kind of what we're looking at doing.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, and so that's where the trailer, so this is, once again, there's Winmore, and there's technically where my mouse is at right now is what's supposed to be the tree preservation strip that the developer, per when it was approved, is supposed to plant trees in that area and actually provide more additional screening and buffering. That's a requirement per our ordinance and per that approval for the Winmore subdivision. However, the developer is currently kind of going MIA, and the village is currently going through the process of claiming their bond. So at some point, either through the developer and or through the village's enforcement, there will be additional screening and buffering in that tree preservation strip. I just wanted to also add that in there as well.
And this is a single-story structure?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Has all the revenues been presented?
For the most part, I'm going to kind of get into the approval criteria. There's additional kind of evidence that I will present from a staff finding standpoint, but that's more all background.
Okay.
What kind of, yeah.
So you bought the house in 2015
2014.
and 2014, and the pool was put in 2019?
End of 19, 2020 maybe. Only had it for about a year and a half, so
How big is the pool?
18 by 36.
What was that answer? I didn't hear it. How big's the pool?
18 by 36.
Okay. And can I ask, why did we not try to do this when we built the pool?
That's some, I mean, once again, that's something that could be, that the pool was, I think, actually, you guys had that in your plans when you're purchasing the property.
Yeah, I mean, we never even, the garage wasn't really consideration, still we were looking at the shed and saying, hey, it might make sense to have a little extra space.
And so that's,
And everything else, so.
yeah, let me get into the approval criteria and the hardships and stuff, and I'll that's where some of this other evidence, and then if we want to ask, those additional questions, we can. So out of our four, I'm going to kind of go through the four approval criteria for you guys, for you to review. Once again, I think just kind of referencing the last meeting, I believe that the application stated something that was a little different. So this approval criteria is based off our ordinance when it comes to reviewing based off of hardship and so on. So per our ordinance, number one, unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of this ordinance. It's not necessary to demonstrate that in the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property, and this shall construct it to mean A, the hardship result from the application of this chapter, B, the hardship results from the application of this chapter such as location, size, or topography, hardships resulting from personal circumstances, as well as hardships resulting from conditions that are common to the neighborhood or to the general public may not be the bias for the granting of variance. And C, the hardship is not the result of actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. The act of purchasing the property with knowledge that circumstances exist that may justify the granting of a variance shall not be regarded as self-created hardship. So kind of getting in that and breaking, so from a staff review standpoint, and this is kind of based also the evidence and stuff, is that for A, unnecessary hardship will result from the strict application of this ordinance because the applicant's unique property shape, location of the primary dwelling, and other property factors that limit the placement of a detached accessory structure. That current house was built in 1988, and the lot prior to Mr. Copley purchasing it was subdivided and created that minimal adequate rear yard space for any type of accessory use in structures. Yes, the pool, but still the limit is there. Our ordinance also does not allow for detached accessory structures to be located in the front yard. If you look back at the property with its kind of unique shape, go here, is that per our ordinance, once again, it must be behind the established building line, which is this, so technically all of this, per our ordinance, is not allowed to be used for any type of detached accessory structure.
Okay, so going back to that picture with the map,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just trying to figure out the impact to the neighbors. So the house is in the middle, correct?
Yes, this is the house.
And is the pool, if you go,
The pool is right here,
which direction is the pool
right
from the
here.
house?
This is the front of the house. This is the back, and so the pool is right here where my mouse is. I can leave it there.
And the shed's on the left, Sean.
Correct. Yeah, and the shed. So here's their driveway, and that shed is located right here.
Okay, I'm not seeing the cursor. Where's the shed?
Okay. Do you see, if you're looking at just the rectangle part of the house, the top left corner of the property line.
Top left, okay.
And then the pool is roughly where it says 202.97.
Yeah,
It's roughly starts there and go, I mean, it's within the applicable the appropriate setbacks, but that's, once again, that's the back of the house. So, it's just directly behind the house there. More, it's kind of in line with where their house number is, where it says 1621.
okay. All right, so the biggest impact is in this house. If you follow the corner, right? If you follow the corner up, that's the biggest impact, right?
Correct. The top left-hand corner of that property is where the structure is being proposed. And so that property line abuts that 25-foot tree preservation strip, which that's what that line where it says COS, that's that 25-foot tree preservation strip.
Which the village is still going after the builder
Correct.
to complete.
Correct. Those when that subdivision was approved, there was supposed to, I've got the landscape plan and go pull it up, but there's trees that were supposed to be planted by the developer in there, and then that property is then maintained and the responsibility of the HOA of Winmore. Any other questions here, or can I?
So you were talking about the tree line. That's that river we see, right? The river line.
What do you mean river line?
River line.
Well, it's kind of a trail actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little.
Between the red.
Yeah, that little strip where it says COS and that has that parcel 06228280, that whole strip is that 25-foot tree preservation strip.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So then getting into B, that the hardship results from conditions peculiar to this property due to the unavailability of adequate land for the primary structure and the placement of the accessory structure in the side and rear yard due to that unique configuration of the lot and the location of the dwelling, as well as the topography / the drainage fields of the septic lines. The applicant is seeking the variance for a detached accessory building, garage. The only adequate space for this request is the location at the end of the driveway as presented. And for this request, the application of 151.054 and other applicable sections limits the applicant on the use of his property. This is due to that septic drainage located in the front and right side yard and make that area unusable for that request. It also made it unusable for the request of the pool when they were going through that process as well. For Mr. Copley to comply with the current ordinance, this requires significant property changes and or grading and the tree removal that would have potentially negative impacts. He also is legally, there was talk about him trying to purchase HOA property for him to do this. However, once again, for then Winmore to be compliant, they have to still have that 25-foot tree preservation strip. So there was really no option for him to purchase additional property or so on. The property, also cannot purchase that land from Winmore HOA as that's required by ordinance for that tree preservation strip. Then C, the hardship is also not a result of the applicant's own actions. The applicant did not realize that the property was limited to where they could build an accessory structure and that an accessory structure could not be placed in the right side yard due to the septic drainage fields. The location of the dwelling and regulations for location of the detached accessory structure leaves no adequate place for a detached accessory garage in the side or rear yard. These issues made itself known when the applicant seek zoning information from the Village of Marvin regarding the location of accessory structures, which you reached out to me in August of 2021 or late July. Once again, I have Mr. Copley purchased the property in 2015, but it was 2014, and it was subdivided and was not informed of those issues really until it's going through that contractual process of purchasing the property.
And most of this common open space, and that is a no build.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get to that. That's actually, I should have that on the next presentation. Next slide. So once again, here's the original parent track. So here's the primary structure. Here's and wax on mark. Well, I guess you can't see the cursor on WebEx. So this was the original property. Everything behind that. So for everybody on WebEx, the perforated line, that was the original property line for the structure or for this property. It was subdivided, new property lines were drawn, and then the additional, what used to be the rear yard of this property was then sold and became part of the Winmore development. Once again, and what's in yellow is the back and side property line of Mr. Copley's property. Chaplain just made a good point out is that everything behind behind the proposed structure is tree preservation, and it's part of the common open space that's not buildable per Winmore. So everything behind it is really what originally was part of the property anyway is not buildable per for Winmore. There'll be no structures behind it and so on.
It's the gray and
Hold on,
hatched.
hold on. Could you say that again? Directly behind is what?
Okay, let me just try to do this because then you guys can see my mouse. Give me 1 sec so I can just pull this up this way. If the computer doesn't blow up.
Give it time.
Oh my goodness.
Stranger things have happened here.
What?
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get the Adobe to share so then they can see my mouse, but it's like not.
What, not what you were just doing?
Yeah, but it pulled up the PowerPoint again.
Alright, try click share. Click Adobe.
Okay, so are you guys looking at the plot right now?
Yes.
Okay, so can you guys see my hand, my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, so this right here is Mr. Copley's property. The front, this is right here in the red is where the proposed structure is being requested. What's in green is that 25-foot tree preservation area. And then directly behind the property, all of this is part of open space per that, once again, our subdivision ordinance. So there's nothing directly behind it. Basically, what originally was part of Mr. Copley's property was sold off, subdivided, sold off to be basically meet the requirements for Winmore. For that. So none of this is built upon, buildable back here. All that's common open space in what's in this little hex, I guess, pattern, yeah, is the interior tree preservation. So that's once again, when trees are removed per that development, the developer then has to mitigate and plant new trees, and that's the area where that was supposed to be done.
Okay, so it's really the lot to the right
Right here?
of the proposed structure, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So that's the only impact.
Correct. But that's where that 25-foot tree preservation strip comes in, is that
Yeah.
it's actually not encroaching any closer to the property that, like, if that tree preservation strip wasn't there, then yes, it could then in theory be encroaching closer to, if it's another detached accessory structure on an adjoining property or a house. However, that 25 foot's an additional, basically 25-foot setback, either way you look at it, if it's on Mr. Copley's or the HOA, because nothing can go there.
Yep.
So it's not actually going to encroach onto physical property in per se, like individual owned property of lot 7. It'd be closer to that tree preservation area, but once again, it's not actually encroaching onto like a actual residential property.
But it's not encroaching, in my estimation, it's not encroaching into that tree preservation.
No, it's staying on
Yeah,
his
it's staying
property,
on
but
the
from a
property.
setback standpoint, it's not, that 25 foot's there even though it's part of that tree preservation.
Exactly. Correct.
But yes, thank you for clarifying that it's not encroaching
Yep.
onto, it's just closer to his actual property line
Got it.
of that tree preservation strip.
And that would be the 10-foot, not the 5-foot, because that's the side. 'Cause it's
Correct,
doing-
it would still be 10 feet off the side.
Right,
Essentially 35 feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
35 feet from the property line of lot 7.
Correct.
Did you guys hear all that?
No, I
So,
did not, sorry.
so basically, with his variance request is to be 10 feet off that side property line, which in theory would actually be 35 feet, taking in that 25-foot tree preservation strip of actually any adjoining property on, like, of lot 7.
Okay.
And lot 7 is built and occupied, correct?
Correct. And they're currently putting in a pool.
And the proposed structure is one-story garage?
Correct.
And do we have any, is there any teeth in that to ensure that whatever way we go, that it stays one story?
You guys can adopt, if approved, can make it a condition.
And there's a condition recommended in here, because we don't have any, and I don't blame you for not getting our architectural renderings, but you can say it's supposed to be substantially similar to the
Roof line of the.
other house, yeah. There's better language in there, but.
I can tell you it's not gonna look much different than the house. I don't wanna look in.
And you could just add.
We just have to protect.
Yeah, no.
You could
I-
add one
yeah.
story to that term, if you were saying, shall be no greater than 1 story, and
No higher than.
of materials of similar to the primary structure and the same color and design. Just add the 1 story.
Okay.
Hey, Hunter,
Yep.
we can talk about this tree buffer, but it doesn't even exist, does it, right now?
What, on paper, yes, it exists. Like that is platted as HOA open space. The actual planning of
But
the
there are no trees in it right now.
correct, but that's nothing on Mr. Copley. That's not on his property. He's not responsible for planting those trees. That's the requirement of the developer to meet those requirements of for Winmore. But even then, once again, from Winmore's standpoint, that 25-foot tree preservation strip is never supposed. It's supposed to be untouched. Once those trees are planted, basically, it's supposed to always remain tree preservation. Never supposed to be privately owned, or no structures can ever go within that area.
So the reason the tree buffer isn't there is because of the HOA.
No, because the developer. Yeah, because the developer, in simple terms, when a developer develops out the property and then he comes to get his bond, to have his bond released, when we go out there and do a punch list, that one of the punch list items was that the developer has not done the proper tree mitigation and has to properly plant trees that were per the approved subdivision plans. Since he hasn't done that and also has been non-responsive, the village is proceeding with probably claiming that bond to actually have that work completed. That's why that bond's in place. So either by the developer or by the village, those trees will be planted in the future.
Okay, so I think I understood the tree buffer and everything. Let's talk about this building itself. It's 550 square feet. I've heard why it can't be located in various different places, but I haven't heard yet, why can't it simply just be moved in this picture, 5 feet to the left and 5 feet up?
Functionality.
So no variances are required.
Functionality based off of where their house sits in their driveway, because it's going to be used as a garage for them to, for any type of turnaround radius and or to, you know, for the purpose of it being that garage. That's what it's being proposed that for, to have these new setbacks so it can be functional on all aspects.
Otherwise, it ends up being too close to the primary structure? Is that
Correct.
Can't turn around.
Yeah, no turnaround and it's just, and it's too close.
So, looking at this picture, I want to understand exactly where the house is that's mostly impacted. So, you've got the cul-de-sac, and
Lot 7.
Lot 7.
I'm talking about the neighbor. I'm
Yeah,
talking about
right.
the neighbor behind, yeah.
Right here.
So, the house would be right in there.
If you go back to the picture, you can see the house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Try pulling up. Can you pull up an aerial?
Yeah, I can. But I have to stop sharing this. I hate it.
Okay, so it looks like the first,
Hold on, I'm just gonna get you guys an aerial.
I think it's probably better to see the actual picture
is,
because you can see the house in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I could.
because to me, they are my biggest concern, right? What's going on behind you that you didn't expect? And it seems kind of close based on the map.
But I will also mention, once again, that property owner was properly notified and has not notified me, asked any questions, nor is he here tonight to state for or against it. So, Yeah,
I mean, you stated on the record that you notified them. If they had an objection, they could have sent you an email, a letter, or come here to testify.
Have you had any conversation with them?
No, not really.
Well, you're getting pretty good at WebEx, Hunter.
Yeah, that's still not the.
Map layers,
Not Tom.
imagery. Oh.
Yeah.
So I think to that point, can it be seen by the guy who has the house in Winmore? There's some trees that, I mean, that tree buffer is built all along that north edge. All those trees are there, and those trees seem to creep around the corner
Correct.
towards Hockley's main drive, correct? So is this new garage going to be tucked in behind those trees?
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, right on the, if they can see, if you see the corner of that pavement in that lot, assuming you all can see that, it'll come out on the pavement a bit. But not enough where you can't get a car through there still and turn around for the main structure.
If I can take the feet thing away, but that's basically where it's going. So yeah, like right in here, I mean, like if it would approach out a little bit into the driveway, but it would go right here where my mouse is at. This is lot 7 of Winmore, and the house, the rear of the house basically comes roughly right here. And they are currently putting in a pool, and that's another thing, is technically per the ordinance of our ordinance, they have to, the property owner of lot 7 has to put a screening and buffering around the pool So there's also, I mean, it's the same kind of concept for Mr. Copley. There's already going to be screening that has to be installed either by the Windmore developer for the tree preservation and of the owner of Lot 7 around the pool. So there will be enough adequate screening and buffering either way you kind of look at it.
Has this been surveyed? How do you know a 20 by 22 will fit and meet these setbacks?
We've measured it out. My friend's a contractor.
You know where the property lines are marked?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're already marked from when I did the pool. I left the stakes in the ground. I never pulled them.
And I've been out there and we measured per that was our initial meeting.
Looks like a really small space.
It's tight. That's why we're asking for the variance.
Yeah, this and GIS is not 100%
Yeah,
accurate.
it's not perfect. It's off.
But no, the stakes are out there and based off of the what's your name?
Go ahead.
The proposal. That's why, you know, once again, when he submitted his application, we made sure once we were looking at all options to see if it was needed, and then if so, if a variance was needed, what would the request be? What are you trying to see?
I'm just trying to say where how the driveway differs from GIS.
Well, that's another.
That's a whole different conversation.
That's a whole other
That's not-
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an easement, ingress, egress there.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, I can, based off of GIS, I mean, I can show you what the.
I think that shed picture.
Yeah,
I know
it showed the
shows-
trees.
It shows
Yeah.
the neighboring property too. Maybe that'll help kind of give them an idea of what it's going to look like to the neighbor as it sits today without a buffer.
All right, we'll go back to the top one then, Wolf.
There you go.
So once again,
One more.
one more.
Yeah, one more. Go back
There.
one. Go back one. There you go.
Yeah.
Right there. The trailer. See the trailer?
Yep.
So like, yeah, once again, so that's where that dirt is. That's lot 7. They're putting in a pool, and we'll have to put their screening and buffering per our ordinance to buffer and screen the pool, as well as where the trailer's at, and that tree, those trees start there, and then that's kind of the same continuation. This is where that detached garage would go. The rear property line is on the other side of the shrubberies, but basically the back side of that shrubbery is the rear property line of Mr. Copley's property. So the back of the garage will basically be against that shrubbery roughly.
Yeah. Yeah, do you have a similar picture at a 10 o'clock angle towards the impacted neighbor? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's
I think the one with the trailer.
Yeah.
That's what this
it
one
right
is.
there. That's 10 o'clock.
That's that trailer,
Is that
Tom.
it? Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And so okay, that's the back of the
Lot 7.
Correct. Where
house.
that's
Okay. It's
Where
the
that-
back of the house, right? Or is that the front?
Nope, that's the back. You're
that's
right,
the
Tom.
back.
That's the back of Lot 7 you're looking at straight ahead.
So the back, okay.
On the picture on the left is the back of Lot 7. The picture on the right
It's still
is out.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's
Thanks.
out the backyard of the house. That's
yeah.
out
The picture. If you're looking at the picture on the right, that's further up the driveway from Mr. Copley. So that's his side yard or his side, looking from the side of his house. But that is still the back of lot 7.
Correct.
But the picture on the left is more of that back left property line of where the structure is being proposed.
So all of that berm is lot 7 for the pool.
Correct.
Yeah. That might help him kind of identify where lot 7 ends, where that berm ends.
Honestly, if I reverse the photos, it might be one kind of continuous photo.
It
But
probably would be, yeah, you're right.
does that make sense, Tom?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
So getting back to the approval criteria here. So 2, the variance is in harmony with the general public and purpose and intent of this chapter and preserves its spirit. The proposed accessory structure will be the same looking design and characteristic of the primary dwelling, and the variance request is in harmony with the general purpose and the intent of this ordinance and preserves the spirit of the residential development at low densities and that are consistent with the rural character of the village. Number 3, the variance assures public safety, welfare, and substantial justice has been done, as the public would not be at risk due to this request, and the substantial justice would be achieved by allowing the location of this accessory structure with the requested variance to meet to the minimum setback requirements. This request would not encroach onto any of the surrounding properties, and the area that abuts the property is a 25-foot tree preservation perimeter of the Winmore subdivision. Due to the original parent tract being subdivided to be used for the Winmore subdivision, the current property is now greatly limited for any potential accessory structures. Additionally, the applicant is proposing that the structure look to be the same look and material as the primary, and furthermore, no problems which may have been contemplated by the ordinance have appeared to occur. Therefore, substantial justice is served by allowing the variance where the effect on the public and surrounding neighbors is almost none. Once again, since it's not really actually encroaching closer to a physical property, the impact is very minimal. And then 4, the variance application request is a minimum one, as the proposed detached accessory structure would not be any closer to any usable property, and by allowing the variance where the effect on the public and surrounding neighbors is almost none. This is due to that, once again, that area that abuts the proposed location for this request is a 25-foot tree preservation perimeter for the Winmore subdivision. So once again, go back. So once again, the tree preservation strip and the structure kind of meets, I think, from a staff's recommendation from approval criteria 3 and 4. That's basically the staff report and evidence. Is there any additional stuff you want to add? Is there any questions for myself or the applicant before we kind of maybe, is there anything you want to add or?
No, I think you've addressed it. When they get through their questions, they can close the public hearing and then debate.
I had a quick question. Where did you post the physical signs for the rezone or for the variance?
Right at the road.
At his driveway?
At his driveway.
Okay.
I've got a picture of it, if you guys want me to pull it up.
So nothing was posted in Winmore?
No.
Okay.
But there were letters sent.
Okay.
Lot 7,
Yeah.
all the adjoining, even the
Yeah.
technical HOA, it was part of those adjoiners. I think that was included in your guys' packet, all the letters that were sent out.
Yep.
Just for,
And the HOA never responded at all? Correct? Okay.
I did not,
an HOA?
technically it's the developer,
Yeah.
but still, based off that, per our ordinance, it has to be mailed to any adjoining property owners within 100 feet, and that touches those mainly all those lots in that cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Because it's his property line, so even like how it's uniquely shaped, so it touches pretty much all of Winmore.
In the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But, is it this one? Just for evidence purposes, I'll show where the sign was posted. Oh, it's doing a movie. Oh, come on, please. Stop sharing this. Now I'm gonna share this again. I think everybody should just start coming in person. So once again, I'm standing pretty much at the ditch line of Waxhaw Marvin Road, and that's his driveway going into his property, and that's where the sign was posted.
Got it.
Okay.
So it was posted at the sign or at the road where people could see, as well as once again those mailing letters went out per our ordinance requirement, and I did not hear anything via phone call, email, or anything. Just you got your letter, right? Okay.
Yes.
Just to confirm. Go ahead, Tom.
And sorry, so did we hear from the neighbor directly?
No. Like they were given the opportunity via the letter, but they chose not to show up or give me a call or email either stating they were for or against it. But they were properly notified And we're aware that,
But the neighbor might have not been driving by that street, right?
No, they're required by our ordinance to mail the notification to property owners that abut or within X number of feet.
100 feet.
100 feet. So the owner of lot 7 would have gotten written notification, but there is no requirement to go post it. You post in front of the property is how you do rezoning. So it was posted by the physical sign in front of the property, and then abutting property owners basically got written letter notification as well.
About the hearing and the date and time.
Yeah, all procedures in our ordinances have been met.
Hey Hunter, I got a question.
Yep.
Without the variance, this structure could fit on that property, correct?
What do you mean?
He could build it on the property following the existing setbacks, correct? There's enough room to build it, right?
No, we wouldn't build it.
No, they wouldn't build it because then, like I said, it would encroach closer to the house, and the actual functionality of it for turnaround purposes and so on could not be, it wouldn't be utilized.
So the only way they'll build it is if we approve the variance.
Yes.
But hey Mike, I thought I saw two different lot size or structure sizes, right? Didn't we see two different?
In the application, the request was, I think I did
20
mention.
by 22.
Because he was not, at the time of this memo in the application, yes, it was that either the applicant stated that he wanted to build either a 20 by 2022 or a 15 by 15. Either way, the variance would still have to be sought, and so that's why he just went ahead with the 20 by 22.
Okay, so the 15 by 15 doesn't work either, right?
No.
Well, it's a choice thing.
Right.
It's
Correct.
a choice.
Well,
It's a
it would
single
work
car
either way.
versus two-car.
But no, it would not work if the variant, basically it would not work without the variance
Correct.
being approved. Because it comes down to, once again, the functionality of that structure.
Radius.
Yeah,
Tight.
and the turn radius.
And as I heard it, there is no other place, based on the leach lines and the septic, right?
And our ordinance.
And our ordinance behind the house, because it's gotta be behind the primary structure, right? So there's no other place that this structure could be placed on that property.
Correct.
Yeah.
And even, once again, referencing the pool could only be located there because it could have been, I know the
Sure.
question came up, but it's like because of where the drainage fields are in that side in front, it didn't leave any adequate space there for the pool.
Tom, Roger, Mike, y'all got any more questions? Any more questions? Somebody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Need a second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
So that will close this hearing of whatever today is, 2/21/2022.
Now you may deliberate.
And now we may deliberate. So comments, concerns? So let me state that one thing that somewhat has been typical is that the hardship has to be something that's not, that basically runs with the land, that is caused by the layout of the lot, and not something that is created by the property owner. You could technically say that the installation of the pool is something that interfered with possibly placing the structure back there. However, in the uniqueness of the lot, one thing that I do see that is unique about this lot is that he's got plenty of buffer around the lot. So, I don't see where, I don't think it would be, I think it would be, a little too strict to hold it to the pool as being something done by the property owner under these circumstances, because the other, again, just to say it again, the other unique situation to me about this lot is the amount of buffer he's provided just because of where he is. That's the only thing I see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also taking into consideration lot 7's need to buffer above the pool, right, is gonna add an added protection to that. I think the one thing for me is that I would like to have some language in here about limiting the structure to no taller than the height of the existing residential structure.
Tom, you got any?
Yeah, and on top of that, more, there needs to be some sort of guarantee for trees or bushes, some sort of a buffer being put in.
Or at least not the removal of the ones that are on there now.
Those aren't being proposed to be removed at all.
And those are on the adjacent property?
Some are on his, but there are the ones.
He said that none of those trees that we saw in the picture are going to be removed.
I just put those trees in last year, actually. The bushes you saw along the berm, those were planted by me last year. They will not be removed.
What about the ones right near the trailer, if you're looking at that picture?
Those are staying put. That's not actually on my property. That's the 25-foot buffer. So I can't touch those anyways. I wouldn't touch them.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And just like to add to, once again, that the trees in that preservation strip are going to be planted per the Windmore, for the Windmore development in general, one way or another. Like there will be additional screening put in that tree preservation area by, once again, either developer, HOA, or the village directs them, one of those parties to do it.
I'm not glad I had that condition.
Roger, you got anything to add?
I think we covered it. And again, that 25-foot buffer, if you look at it, was actually put in there to protect Mr. Coffey from having to live at Windmore.
Correct.
So that's correct. It's an interesting
Irony.
that we're using that now. But actually, I think it was protect Mr. Copley from having to live at the backside of all those mansions.
Tom, you're okay? Any more questions?
No, I think I'm good, thanks.
Mike?
I think I'm good. If lot 7 had an issue, they would have showed up or, sent a letter or something. And they're building a pool, right? And there's going to be extra screening there anyway, so
Yep.
I'm okay.
All right, so somebody like to make a motion? Although I suppose we need to go through the findings of fact, don't we?
Yeah. Right. You got, and I think you have some proposed or possible motions.
Yeah,
And just take those in order. Go ahead.
I was about to say, for those online, I can pull them up. I did draft, just, once again, for purposes of functionality, depending on your guys' outcome, the potential motions, I can pull those up, or if somebody here wants to make those motions.
Yeah, we can do it here.
Okay.
That was that letter that was in the packet you sent to us here yesterday.
Yeah, for the most part. It's basically it took those points out of my memo, pretty much, and making them formal motions.
So this makes it easy.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve. Let's see, approval criteria number 1, I move that the application of this ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship to the location of a detached accessory structure, and is not possible for the applicant to cure the violation due to existing conditions of the property, the unique shape and layout of the property, and other factors that have impacted how the property was developed.
That's
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
So question here, are we restricting, are we putting those,
We will.
the scripture?
You would impose conditions when you do the final motion.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the end.
Okay,
Yeah.
We have an approval criteria number 2.
Well, hold on.
You have to
That
vote
makes
on
it-
that one.
Oh,
We didn't actually vote on that.
We haven't voted on it, that's correct. So all in favor of approval criteria number 1, say aye.
Aye.
So approval criteria number 1 passes unanimously. Approval criteria number 2, I move that the variance is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance and preserves its spirit.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approval criteria moves unanimously. Approval criteria number 3, I move that in granting a variance that the public safety and welfare have been assured and that substantial justice has been done.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approval criteria number 3 is unanimous. Approval criteria number 4, I move that the reasons set forth in the application and the hearing justify the granting of a variance and that the variance is a minimal one that will make possible the reasonable use of land or structures.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval criteria number 4 moves unanimously.
All right, before we move forward, clarification on purposes here. Because the way I've got it presented here is, remember, they need to, I don't know if they need to do it after they grant the vote to grant. This is basically the findings of facts that would go in that decision letter and how they would direct me to draft it.
They can go ahead and say, just the
Okay.
order you have it, as to the finding in that paragraph. And then the important thing that I've heard on here were the conditions, and we'll make sure those are included.
Right.
So I think there can just be just like you
Just how-
proceeded,
okay.
move to adopt the following findings of fact.
So, findings of fact. I move to adopt the following findings of fact as actual findings of fact based on sworn testimony from the applicant, staff, and adjoining property owners, and authorize the planner to confirm the written decision confirming these findings. That on January 18th, 2022, Matt Copley submitted a complete application variance for the location and minimum setbacks for a detached accessory structure. Detached accessory structure shall be located in the side and rear yard as long as they meet the applicable requirements in 151.054B. Due to the lay of the land, the location of the primary dwelling, and the septic system and septic draining lines located in the front and right side yard create unnecessary hardship that would result from the strict application of the ordinance, thus making the requested location the only usable area on the parcel usable area on the property. Number 2, that the 1.208 acres parcel is zoned R Marvin Residential District and located at 1621 Waxhaw Marvin Road, identified further as parcel number 0622-8004E. Number 3, that the unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance, as the variance is for the minimum setbacks for detached accessory structures in the rear yard, and it is not possible for the applicant to cure the violation due to natural land features and other actors that have impacted how the property was developed. For the property to become compliant with ordinance requirements and allow for this request of attached garage in the side or rear yard, the owner would need purchase additional property or require significant property changes. Number 4, that the hardship results from conditions peculiar to this property due to the unavailability of adequate land for the primary structure and placement of an accessory structure in the side and rear yard due to the unique configuration of the lot, the location of the dwelling, and topography of the property. Number 5, that the hardship was not the result of the actions of the applicant property owner. The applicant did not realize that the proposed detached accessory structure would not be suitable in the side yard and that the zoning ordinance would prevent the location of an accessory building in the front yard. The issue made itself known when the applicant sought zoning information from the village regarding the location of accessory structures. The applicant, Matt Copley, has owned the property since 2015 and was not informed of any issues by the seller and the previous owner created this lot to meet the minimum setback requirements and sold the remaining land to Winmore subdivision. Number 6, that the variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, and that the public benefit of the ordinance is maintained, and that the variance does not create a public safety issue. Granting the request would result in substantial justice done, as the applicant's only option is to have a detached garage, as this requested location is to potentially purchase additional land, but the land needed is part of Winmore 25-foot exterior tree preservation buffer that is required by the village ordinances for the development. Number 7, the board has heard sworn testimony from the applicant, staff, and adjoining property owners.
Need a second, and would you like a glass of water?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And so, all those move unanimously. So now we'll talk about the final approval granting variance request motion, and this will be the requirements of that structure. So, a motion to approve variance application request 2022-1 upon such findings of fact, and having concluded that all other standards have been met, and grant this variance request with the following conditions. A, the detached accessory structure shall be constructed of materials similar of the primary structure and shall be the same color and design.
Did you want to add in height? And a height no higher than the existing residential structure?
Yeah, I was gonna put that in the last one.
I'm sorry.
And,
Not to exceed 1 story in height. B, the detached accessory shall not exceed 20 feet by 22 feet. And C, the detached accessory structure must comply with all other applicable sections of the Marvin Code of Ordinance. Someone like to second that motion?
I will second that
I'll
motion.
second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so the variance is granted?
I'm sorry. So that structure, did we limit it to
Yeah.
Yes.
one
Yes.
story?
To 1
Yes.
story, yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. Okay.
So,
and they've already confirmed to authorize him to write the written decision in that.
That was
in that
in the,
previous-
that was in the findings. And if everybody was present and had these in front of you, I would say you can adopt the proposed findings of fact by reference. And I wanted
Yeah.
to do that, but y'all didn't have the reference.
I was about to pull it up though.
So I didn't think you could adopt something by reference that you hadn't seen, so.
You heard.
believe me.
No, it was in there, so I was thinking about that.
I
but-
thought about that too.
Okay,
I thought,
next
"Look,
time we can take
I
a
gotta read
shortcut
all
on it."
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, so with that, variance application request 2022-1 is hereby approved.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
We have other business.
Just one thing.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just really fast, the other piece of business, if you haven't already, return your Statement of Economic Interest and Code of Ethics forms. They are due in April. I just remind everybody of these at every meeting. You guys, I think, have mostly turned yours in.
Thought I did, but I don't.
You too. You did the last meeting.
I
You're
would email it to you.
yeah. You're good. Roger's good. I can't remember about Tom and Mike. I have to look at my file.
I think I'm good.
All right, maybe it's Mike then. I don't remember.
I thought it was good, but
Maybe you are. Maybe the entire board's good, and I put this on here unnecessarily.
Send us an
Well,
email.
if you don't
before
have
I go.
mine,
Yeah.
just send me an email.
I remember I have yours.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe you guys are all good. So if that's the case,
hey
then
Austin. Hey Austin, can I make a request for the future?
shoot.
Hunter, that slideshow you do, can you put it in eScribe so we can like look at it
Yeah.
a little clearer?
Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
that.
that's no problem.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully, I know that we've had 2 in the last month, but this is actually one that, like I said, that was expecting. I think that we clarify with you guys, but yeah, if for anything future, definitely can make sure those presentations are there, as well as the draft motions,
Yeah.
just so everybody can.
We're on like record pace here.
Well, I don't have any more like that I know of, but
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, 2 approvals.
Take a vacation.
Hey Hunter, if you keep this up, we're gonna have to get paid.
Yeah.
hey,
One thing that I find kind of discouraging here is that, like, in an HOA environment, we have to go talk to our property owners around us if we're gonna do anything, right?
Mhm.
The last 2 cases we've seen, we have had 0 involvement or like any written statement that a property owner has to go get from adjoining property owners. It's just, for me, it's disappointing, right?
well, the last case they had the neighbor.
One neighbor who.
The neighbor came.
Oh, but that was completely across the street, and he didn't have to go get a signature or anything. I don't know if there's anything.
I think it could help their case if they brought it, if they had something written from whoever owns lot number 7.
Right, so-
it would have simplified it, and y'all would have asked
Right.
fewer questions. But statutorily, I don't know that we can require that because we're following the North
Maybe
Carolina
not.
general statute.
Well-
Maybe not require it, but maybe just plant a bug in their ear when they come in for it.
Well, typically I do.
Okay.
I will state, have you talked to property owners, and I in all honesty, I was expecting potentially at least one neighbor to show up.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Winmore having their issues with their developer in that
Yeah.
tree preservation strip, and I'm about positive that lot 7 is the HOA president too.
Okay,
So he would have been notified multiple times.
right.
But yeah, we can't.
We can't mandate it, but
Well, funny thing, in 160D we actually can, but as in like, basically, instead of having staff make sure the mailing's sent out, we can put in our ordinance that have the property owner.
property owner do it. and you-
But then you run into the chance of them not potentially doing it to meet the statutory requirements and stuff, so it's easier and better and cleaner if the staff.
You also know it's done.
Yeah, that's exactly,
Right. Yep.
because I remember
Yeah,
that
yeah,
whole
you can't
discussion.
require it. But if you get that neighbor endorsing the project, that makes this meeting real easy,
Yeah.
right?
And I agree, and like I said, it's just sometimes, I mean, it just depends, and that's the other thing, it's,
Yeah, you can't require it, but I'm just saying it would shorten this meeting a lot.
oh, trust me.
It also would have shortened if he had plans, what he was trying to do.
Yeah, and that was just the thing, is that he's been weighing in on this, trying to figure out what his, different route, approaches are to allowing this, and that was the thing. He came to me, is like, look, I think my only option after discussing with you was the variance, and I asked him, I think, can you get plans? And he did reach out to his contractor, and he's backed up, but at the same time, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'll be honest. He's like, I don't want to spend the money as well to either get them expedited and or have them if this doesn't get approved. So this was first step.
Take a piece of
Yeah.
graph paper and draw it out. Something.
It would help.
Yeah, it would totally help.
And that's what, that drawing was, that's what, I know the last one we kind of had to,
Right.
with that, but that last one is the same. I mean, I know we did approve that as the approved plans, but basically this one's different where he applied for that variance because that's going to be the setbacks in that drawing.
Yeah. I think so.
And we, like I said, we measured it and stuff, so. But other than that.
Austin, you got anything else?
We got any other business?
Nope. We'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this Board of Adjustment meeting of 2/21/2022 at 7:28 PM.
That's weird.
Someone want to second that motion?
Roger will.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.